Hi everyone, so today I'm going to show you a very essential part of horse ownership, which is how to clean a stall. So our question for this week is, does your horse live out in the field 24/7 or do you keep them in the stable sometimes? So any horse I've had, I like for them to live out 24/7. I do bring them in if they are injured or maybe the weather's really bad. That's how I do it, but I'd like to know what you do, so let me know in the comments. So before you go to clean out your horse stall, there are a few things you're going to need. So first and foremost, you're going to need something to put the dirty shavings in, whether this is a wheelbarrow like I have here or maybe a muck bucket. And wheelbarrows make it easy to transport to like the poop pile or the manure pile. So I'm going to be using a wheelbarrow. So the next thing you're going to need is a pitchfork to pick up the poop and the dirty shavings, or if you use straw as your bedding, pitchforks make picking up straw really easy. The next thing you're going to need is a shovel. So as you can see, this shovel has seen its fair share of poop piles here. I mainly use the shovel here to clean out the spots where the horse has peed, and I use it to scrape the bad and the gross shavings away and into the wheelbarrow. I'm also going to use a broom here to sweep away from the door of the stall just to get the shavings from going out into the barn aisle. I can also sweep away from where my horse eats, like where the hay goes, and also where they eat their grain. And that way if food is on the ground, they're not going to inhale and ingest the sawdust. So I have my broom. So another thing you're going to need to clean a horse stall is bedding for your horse, and bedding allows your horse to be more comfortable while they're in the stall. So I use shavings like this that come in a bag and that you can just get at a farm store. I know a lot of people use straw, or there's a bunch of different kind of bedding types. There's like pellets that you can put water into and then they grow and absorb like this. So it's really just researching the kind of bedding you want to use for your horse. So if you have a horse that maybe has a hard time breathing when it comes to dust and being in a stable, you want to make sure you find a bedding that suits them and allows them to breathe well. So that just comes down to researching what kind of bedding is best for your horse. So if you're missing any of the supplies I just went over, I'll put some links in the description for you where you can go and buy them online. Alright, so let's go ahead and clean our stall. I'm going to put my wheelbarrow here. So all the horses that were in last night are pretty clean, as you can see. Real quick, I just want to show you how to recognize some things in your stall. So the poop is pretty easy to see and to recognize, but with pee spots, if you look here, the sawdust is a little darker than the normal sawdust, so that's a pee spot. So we're going to want to make sure we clean that out too, because we don't want the horse standing in nasty shavings. Alright, so to get started, I'm just going to remove all the poop piles first. That just makes it easier, in my opinion. So one thing I can do is when I pick up my poop here, I like to shake my pitchfork and any good shavings will fall out, so I can save those good shavings. And I know that may sound tedious, but shavings can be expensive, and so we want to try and save as much of the shavings as we can. Some horses like to bury their poop in shavings, and so some stalls will be much more work, while others, they keep it a little bit more clean. So now that we've gotten all the poop out of the stall, it's time to handle the pee spots. So how you handle the pee spots in the stable is really determined by the type of flooring you have underneath. So we have rubber mats underneath these stalls. So that means the moisture is really going to be absorbed into those mats. So all we really have to do is remove the shavings that were peed on. If you have a stall that's maybe built on a dirt floor, you may handle that a little differently. The ground where the horse peed is going to need to dry out before you can put shavings back on top of it. So I'll walk you through what to do with the stable mats, and then maybe talk you through what to do if you have a dirt floor. So here's my pee spot. The first thing I'm going to do is I want to remove all the clean shavings away from the pee spot. So I can use my shovel, and I'm just going to draw a perimeter kind of around where the horse peed. Then we can go over here. And this is a little bit more difficult of a spot because the horse peed right up near the wall, but I'll do my best. So I've outlined my pee spot. So now all I really have to do is scrape it up like this with my shovel and then throw it in my wheelbarrow. So real quick, you can see these rubber mats under here. So that's the flooring I was talking about. So the rubber mats have already absorbed the majority of the pee. So I just really need to remove the shavings now. So there's another pee spot over here too. The horse buried it a little bit, but I need to clean this out as well. Probably not gonna save as many good shavings in this one because it looks like he's kicked it over kind of, but we'll get it done. So as you can see, it looks like good shavings on top, but when I scrape, you can see the wet spot underneath. So that is really what I'm trying to pick up. So when it comes to the rubber matting floors, once I've removed the bad shavings, all I really have to do now is just cover those spaces back up and make sure they're covered nicely with the clean shavings. If you have a dirt floor, what you may want to do is once you take the bad shavings away, you may want to just let the ground dry for a minute where the horse peed before you put any new shavings back over it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover my pee spots back up, and then I'm gonna kind of move my sawdust around. I'm looking for smaller pieces of poop that I may have missed earlier. So let me go ahead and do that. So these horses don't have too many other smaller poop pieces. Some horses are really messy. Somehow they turn their poop up and they spread it all over their stall. So this step may be more prevalent depending on whose stall you're cleaning out. So this is more of a horseback riding humor, but looking for poop in a stall is kind of like mining for gold. I don't know if you guys have ever seen people mine for gold, but you scoop up the sediment and then shake out the sediment and the gold will be left on top. So you're still looking for nuggets, but just a different kind. Alright, so we're pretty much done in this stall. All we have left to do is to sweep. So the first thing I'm going to sweep is the doorway here. As you can notice, there's a lot of shavings outside of the stall door in the barn aisle, which makes the barn aisle really messy. So I want to make sure I sweep the shavings back so that they don't go in the barn aisle when the horse walks through. So I'll start in here. Another place I can sweep is under the horse's food bucket. The reason I like to do this is if the horse is eating and they drop food out of their mouth on the ground, they're more than likely going to go try and pick it up off the ground with their mouth. If there's shavings there, they may ingest or inhale dust or shavings. So I just want to sweep it away so that they can easily get the food that they drop without inhaling dust. So same goes with the hay area. So I personally like to put my horse's hay on the ground, and this way it's just a more natural way for them to eat, you know, with their head down like they're made to be doing. But if you put the hay up in a hay net or maybe a hay rack, this may not be as important. If you plan to put the hay on the ground, you can sweep the shavings away from that area as well. So you may be wondering, how do I tell whether or not a stall needs shavings? So this stall here is pretty good on shavings. It adds a nice layer of protection and comfort for the horse. Let me show you what a stall looks like that needs shavings. So even though the stall is messy, I can already tell it's gonna need shavings. So there are a few reasons you use bedding in your stall, and once you understand these reasons, it's gonna be easier to figure out when you need to put more bedding in the stall. So one reason you need bedding in your stall is to absorb pee that your horse leaves. So if you don't have a lot of shavings or bedding in your stall, that means there may be sitting pee, which is kind of nasty. So you want to make sure you have enough bedding down so that it can absorb any water that's left. Another reason for putting bedding in your stalls is for comfort for your horse. So just remember, your horse is standing in here a long time. And I know if I'm standing a long time, my legs start to hurt, especially if I'm standing on hard ground. So when you provide that comfort for your horse by giving adequate bedding to them, they're able to not only stand comfortably, but they can lay down and take a nap if they want to as well. So a good way to look at it is, if I were to lay down right here, would I be able to be comfortable and take a nap? The answer right now, probably not. So there's not a horse that's going to be going in the stall for a while, so I'm just going to put down about half a bag just in case there's an emergency and the horse needs to come in here. I'm going to save the rest of this. Alright, now I'm just going to spread the sawdust around evenly across the stall. Make sure the horse has an even comfort. Alright, so I finished cleaning all the stalls and now I'm going to go dump my wheelbarrow. So this is the point where you're going to want to have some good muck boots, because sometimes the easiest way to turn this wheelbarrow is just to climb up in the poop. This is part of horse ownership, people. So where there's manure, there's usually flies. So if you want to keep your barn free from bugs and flies and those annoying creatures, it's important to keep your manure pile away from your barn. So we have another video about how to care for a horse, which will talk about other things you need to know to properly take care of your animal. So I'll put the link in the description. And if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe to our channel.